are you all doing tonight? My name is Bigbobbedboi, and welcome to another shit that happened. Although this one is not about TBC. We're going to talk about Season of Mastery. Some of you probably have no idea what in the dong I am even talking about. There was a thing on the launcher announcing Season of Mastery. I think Blizzard has fired all of their good marketing / PR people because it was awful and did not entice me at all. In fact, I just completely ignore everything on the launcher now because they are still trying to get me to buy TBC Collector's Edition and yet another Call of Duty. Or I guess, oh, it's a retail store mount this time. Alright, that's even worse. So what I want to do is give kind of an overview of what Season of Mastery is and why I'm actually really excited about it. So first, what is Season of Mastery? It's kind of a classic plus. It doesn't look like it's going to require a separate client. These will just be new, fresh servers for classic, but with some changes. Kind of. It's more like a shitload of changes. Most of them look really good, with a few okay ones. But some of them are going to change pretty drastically how classic plays. Let's talk about leveling first. Leveling is going to be a lot faster. You get a flat 40% bonus to quest XP at all times, with an additional bonus for doing elite quests. Mob XP doesn't change though, outside of some dungeon stuff. This really incentivizes doing quests to level. There is no point to mob grinding anymore, and even more so incentivizes people doing elite quests. There are a ton of those I wanted to do when leveling alts in Classic, and I could just never get anyone to do them. This also means mage boosting is basically dead. Okay, maybe not, but probably. With these XP boosts, you should be doing fine, XP-wise, just out there questing. And they have talked about some other changes in this same vein. Like there are things on the beta that point to more dungeon changes that shut down mage boosting entirely. Buffs that make mobs unkiteable, mobs getting speed boost buffs, that kind of thing. So we're probably going to be leveling all of our characters via quests, but at a really good pace, and I like that. Leveling also gets one more addition, Iron Soul, which is just Blizzard taking the Soul Calibur route when naming their Iron Man mode. Because that's basically what it is, it's an Iron Man mode. To start it, you talk to an NPC in Ironforge or UC to get a buff showing that you've never died. If you die with that up, you get a debuff showing you've died and you get a small stat debuff that's removable. You also drop your ball. Okay, it's beta, so this actually changed. You don't get a stat debuff now. Instead, you get a debuff that says what level you died at. Nice! Like basically any other Iron Man mode, there are no rewards for this. It's just a fun, self-imposed challenge. But it really is a fun one. If you've never tried an Iron Man mode before, I actually really recommend giving this shit a go. I've been streaming some Hunter Iron Soul and it's been great. It will change the way you level by quite a lot, way more than you'd originally think. At least, way more than I originally thought. Now, I've seen some really extreme Iron Man runs out there before where people only use vendor gear, can't group, you know, whatever sadistic shit you can think of. Soul of Iron doesn't have any of that, at least right now. It's beta, so things can change. It doesn't impose any restrictions on you at all, but it does seem like dying in PvP counts, so you might want to do this on a PvE server. Speaking of PvP, that is also getting changed in some pretty significant ways. BGs in the honor system are coming in at launch. Previously that was Phase 2 and Phase 3. Or 3 and 4, I don't know, I don't remember. I was drinking a lot back then. And still am. They're also rolling back AV to an earlier version. This is absolutely dope shit. If you were never able to do the original AV, like original AV, it was... okay, it was sort of shit. There were way too many mobs, there were an assload of mines that were a goddamn nightmare. I think I remember you could herb and mine in there even, and it was actually not a bad place to farm, so people would just go in there to farm or level and not PvP at all. But as things went along, it was patched and actually became really fun. But then by the time we got to patch 1.12, it was also sort of shit again. with them rolling things back, hopefully they'll land somewhere in the middle there and give us a really fun version of AV. Ranking is also going to get a lot easier. Right now they're saying 40% easier. That is okay, I guess. I'd like to see more done to the ranking system. Hopefully they'll put some more work into that. And with the gear being as good as it was, if they let people get the buffed PvP gear in Phase 1, well, that's just fucked. It would really mess up raids. So I hope they don't do that. But speaking of raids, raids will probably be the best part of Season of Mastery, and it's what I am most excited for. Raids are being heavily changed, and again, mostly in a really good way. Here's what they said. We're planning a few changes to make those early raid bosses pack a bit more of a punch, and attempt to recapture the original challenge they presented. These changes currently include, but are not limited to, world buffs disabled in raid instances, restoring mechanics that were removed early on to some raid bosses, no boss debuff limit, increased health on bosses. This is good. This is all really good. I hated world buffs. Couldn't be happier that they're gone. No debuff limit. This is okay. I understand for some classes it was really boring to not be able to use your skills because it would take up a debuff slot. What actually makes me kind of happy about this is it will shake up class balance a bit. Hunters can now all use Serpent Sting. It's just free damage as long as you don't go boom. Locks can dot, rogues can bleed, shadow priests can exist. Well, probably not. In conjunction with world buffs being gone, there's some potential for this to really change raid balance. Increased health on bosses, well, with all the world buffs gone, this one I'm not particularly excited about. Depends on how it's balanced, but I really hate overly long bullet sponge bosses. Hopefully they don't go that route. Okay, but one more thing on raids I gotta talk about. It's a lot to read, but it's important. Deal with it. Going into Season of Mastery, our philosophy was to take a light touch when it came to changes to raid bosses and mechanics, and focus instead on restoring versions of raid bosses that existed in the game at one point or another during the course of original World of Warcraft. As we were peeling back the layers of data from early versions of the game, it became obvious quickly that the list of actual changes to most content in Molten Core and Onyxia was extremely short. Onyxia had a conflagrate/disorient effect on a fireball attack during the air phase, Golmag had an earthquake ability, and Ragnaros did a fire splash more frequently with a weekly timer to limit the number of attempts a group could make. Some of these mechanics are more impactful than others, but overall we suspected that the total impact of the changes would likely not be meaningfully felt by players in 2021, who have an enormous amount of experience in these raids. Regardless, we were determined to start small and see how it felt at first. So for that first round of beta testing, we went in with a blanket 100% health buff and that handful of restored mechanics. As we watched beta testers in-game and listened to the reactions to our changes and restorations, it confirmed what we already thought going into this test. Merely raising mob health and restoring a few removed mechanics was not hitting the mark we wanted for a season focused on faster progression and more challenging content. As a result, with the next upcoming beta build, we're making some significant adjustments to almost every encounter in Molten Core and Onyxia's lair. Holy shit! Alright, that was long, but this is great. This is Blizzard actually doing smart things. Smart things that require a little bit of work. I don't expect them to make any new content for something like Season of Mastery, but I didn't expect them to do this kind of work either, and I am pumped. They said significant changes, and yeah, they were. Shazra spawns shades that also arcane explosion. Baron puts living bomb on multiple targets, I think it was 3. Rag, you're dealing with multiple spawns of suns. Like, okay, saying that out loud, I realize that's not actually as exciting as I originally thought. It's supposedly just the same mechanic multiplied, but it's still cool, okay? And the larger thing here, to me, is it points to them actually putting in some work, trying to make these raids fun. I'm really hoping this means they will give us original versions of bosses like Cthulhu, but without the bugs. I'm pretty sure it was Ian, What Has It Cost Us, that said original Cthulhu was mathematically impossible. I kind of doubt that it was. Blizzard actually did raid test their bosses back then. I know that's hard to believe, but they did, so I don't think it was mathematically impossible, and I really, really hope they put that in. Now, what about dungeons? Dungeons don't really seem to be changing, and I'm kinda okay with that. It looks like improved raids are going to be the focus in Season of Mastery. They will get some changes I mentioned earlier to stop boosting, but also just dungeon farming in general. Hunter likely can't solo Maraudon if those speed buffs for mobs go live. Rogues can't pickpocket BRD all day, they already put fixes in for that. More changes like that are about all I expect for dungeons though. Class changes. Nah, it doesn't look like there will be any class changes. I was kind of hoping for some small ones, like giving pets avoidance, or making it so stuff like Rhett or Ellie could exist, even if they're not great. And at the bottom of DPS, just kind of let them exist, so they don't run out of mana immediately. Maybe they will do class changes next week, but for now, classes are the same. There are a few miscellaneous changes coming in that are pretty nice as well, like meeting stones are now summoning stones, so they'll work like they do in TBC. More mining and herb spawns. Nice. Arcane crystals were overpriced AF in Classic. There's a few other really small stuff like Diamond Flask looks to be nerfed. Likely there will be more small things that get added over time. Maybe they'll add a TBC style looking for group tool or something, I don't know. Alright, let's talk about the downsides to Season of Mastery. Well, there's really only one that I can think of, but it's kind of a big one. This is going to hurt TBC Classic. TBC Classic has seen a player drop much bigger than I expected. People always dip over time, it makes sense. But it's been pretty bad. This will likely just take even more players away from TBC. And also means I don't have much hope for future TBC raids. I wanted unnerfed Vosh and Kael'thas. We didn't get those. Because they're probably saving them for an inevitable TBC Season of Mastery. Black Temple, Highjaw, Sunwell, they're probably going to be pretty boring, pretty easy. It sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. The release date. So they already announced the release date, November 16th at 3 PM Pacific. But you can start reserving names November 11th. That is soon. Yeah, real soon. I think we just have to accept that Blizzard has no idea what they're doing. They just rush out everything now. We got like 2 weeks of the TBC pre-patch. It's stupid. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking, but it's just what they do now. But why specifically November 16th? Why would they release it then? I mean, I feel like I had something else going on that week. Was it something on the 19th? What was that? But overall, I am pretty fucking pumped for Season of Mastery. And I hope you are too. If you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button, bell, like button, don't ruin TBC button, share button, all that other shit. I appreciate each and every one I get. This channel even has memberships now. You can check them out by clicking the join button right by the sub button. It is absolutely the best way to support the channel because ad revenue is almost zero. And you'll get some really cool emotes, plus it's way better and cheaper than a Twitch sub. I stream right here on YouTube. I hope you'll join me. But that is going to be all for this one. I really appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all for the next one.